In a year when our GDP has grown by over 7.6%, our rupee has depreciated by over 11%. And it's not just against the dollar, but Indian rupee has been depreciating against the euro, the pound, and even the Pakistani rupee. In fact, the situation got so worse that on May 10, Indian Prime Minister himself had to request citizens to buy less gold, use less fuel, and travel less abroad to save the falling rupee.
विदेशी मुद्रा बचाने पर भी बहुत जोर देना होगा.
Our Indian equity market, which was 3.5 times the size of South Korea and twice the size of Taiwan, has slipped below them in just 18 months. So, what is happening behind the scene in the Indian economy? Why is rupee depreciating? Is India in a crisis? And ultimately, who wins in the situation of falling rupee? Is it the rich or the poor? Now, before we get into economics, a lot of people, when they hear rupee depreciation, they think, okay, so what? I don't travel abroad, I don't invest in dollar, I earn in rupees and I spend in rupees. Why should I care about the falling rupee? That's not my problem. But what they don't know is India is a deeply import dependent economy. We import our LPG, we import our oil, we import a large part of our medicines, machinery, electronics, and fertilizers. So every time rupee falls against the dollar, the things we import from the outside gets more expensive. And that increase in cost doesn't stay with the importer. It travels back in the chain and travels back to you. Your petrol prices, your LPG gas cylinder, the medicine in the local chemist, the vegetable that came by a truck that run on diesel, all of it quietly gets more expensive. And this directly impacts your pocket. So now let's understand why is even rupee depreciating in the first place. See, India follows something called the floating exchange rate system, in which the value of rupees is decided by the demand and supply in the market. The higher the demand means higher value of rupees, the lower demand means lower value of rupees. And where does this demand come from? There are majorly three sources: export, import, and investments. When an Indian exporter sells goods or services to a foreign country, they receive their payment in dollars because that's an international currency. They bring those dollars back in India and convert them in rupees, and that increases the demand for rupees, pushing its value up. But when someone in India imports a product from outside, oil, machinery, electronics, they need to first convert the rupee to dollar to make the payment. That increases the demand for dollars and decreases the demand for rupees. And ultimately, the value of rupees goes down. So, in simple terms, more exports means stronger rupee and more imports means weaker rupee. But right now, India imports far more than it exports. If we look at our trade data last year, in 2025, we exported goods and services worth of $860 billion dollars and imported about $979 billion dollars. Where in goods, we were in a deficit of $333 billion dollars, and from services, we had earned $119 billion dollars. But the problem is, if you look at our top imports, which is oil, machinery, and gold, these aren't easily replaceable. But if you look at our top exports, which is BPO, consulting, and IT services, these are in a direct threat with the advancement in AI. The kind of work that thousands of Indian engineers and consultants do today, writing code, processing data, and preparing reports, AI is beginning to do it faster, cheaper, and at scale. So the revenue system that currently holds up India's export earning are under direct threat from the same technology that India is not participating in building. If we talk about investments, last year in 2025, India recorded a record outflow of $19 billion dollars of foreign investors from the Indian market, which was the highest in our history. But in 2026, from January to May, it's been not even a full year, we have already lost $26 billion dollars of foreign investments. That's why Indian market has slipped below South Korea and Taiwan in just 18 months. So why are these foreign investors panicking and leaving the Indian market? There are mainly three reasons. First is the depreciating rupee. See, as the rupee depreciates, the investors who have converted their dollar into INR, their returns eventually falls. For example, Alex converted his $1,000 when $1 was 85 rupees. His initial investment value gets at about 85,000 rupees. Let's say after 1 year, his investment value increased to 1 lakh rupees. But rupee has depreciated to 90 rupee a dollar. So now when he converts his money, with earlier exchange he would have gotten $1,176. But with new exchange rate, he would only get $1,111. That's about $65 of loss doing nothing. Second reason is the complex and recent increased capital gains tax, which act as a cherry on the cake. Third and the most important reason is India has no globally competitive AI or deep tech company. When foreign investors are allocating capital, they are asking one question: where is the future being built? And right now, the answer is not India. Look at Taiwan. TSMC alone is so critical to global chip supply that if it went offline tomorrow, the entire global technology industry would halt. Look at South Korea. Samsung and SK Hynix are pouring billions into AI chip development and they are winning. Even India's MSCI weight, which means how much of the global emerging market index India represent, fell from 21% in 2024 to just 11% in 2026. Taiwan and South Korea have both risen past 20%. Capital follows the future, and right now investors don't see that future being built in India. Even in our top indexes, majority of the weight are being held by traditional sectors like banks, IT companies and oil. Not AI, not semiconductor, not deep tech. Compare this to China. In 2015 only, China unveiled its Made in China 2025 plan, a government backed 10-year roadmap to become globally self reliant and dominant in 10 strategic industries: robotics, aerospace, semiconductor, AI, electric vehicle, and more. It was specific, funded, and executed. Today, China runs a trade surplus of over $1 trillion a year. You can agree or disagree with the political system, but the planning and discipline is not something we can dismiss. So, when the rupee falls, who actually gets the benefit and who gets hurt? The people who win are those who have assets outside India. If you hold a property abroad or have investment in foreign market or hold a dollar, a weaker rupee means your foreign investment is now worth more in rupee terms. You did nothing. The currency moved and you automatically got richer than everyone else. The people who lose are those whose entire life is priced in rupees, which is the vast majority of Indians. As the rupee weakens, the cost of everything we import rises, and that get passed down through the supply chain, which directly impacts your purchasing power. So, what are the potential solutions for this? If we genuinely want India to grow in exports and want a stronger rupee, we need to focus on the future like AI development plan and ease of doing business. It's not like India lack talent. Same Indians are running some of the world's biggest tech giants like Google, Microsoft, Adobe, and Perplexity. But we haven't seen that same big giants being founded out of India, even after so many grants and schemes existing in our system. The problem is not lack of schemes, but the lack of ground level execution. If you want to know exactly why Indians being talented are not being innovative inside India and a system where the help just exists on paper, watch this video. I'll see you there. Thank you.